Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. Today it's all about the Beer Olympics. In tribute of the 2008 Olympics going on right now in Beijing, we thought it'd be fun to have our own Beer Olympics. Kind of a wonderful categories of events for you all. We're going to have a fun little show. Basically everything that we thought are the best contenders of the world in beer.
In many different beer categories.
Many. So.
And direct from the beer capital of around here, we have a special guest judge who will be weighing in on all of our choices in the various beer categories. Mr. Neil Shu, thanks for joining us today, Neil.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, how this is going to work, we've come up with a bunch of different categories that we figure represent the best in beer athletic achievement, and we've all chosen our favorites in said categories, and we will discuss.
Yeah, you know, basically, I would say athletic might be the most insignificant term in that whole part, but yeah, it's a bunch of categories, and by no means are these going to be the most high-regarded categories, as maybe the other higher beer judges in the world would say, but I think these are just as important.
All right, so without further ado, we're starting off with the best 40-ounce beer.
That's right, the 40. I went with the High Gravity Old English 800 malt liquor. It's the ghetto standard out on the streets. There's nothing like showing up to a party with a big old 40 of HG. It'll really get your night going. Probably get your night ending too.
Now, see, I personally went because I like showing up to parties to play Edward 40 hands, but I still like to be able to pee. So my choice was the Mickeys, because you get those grenade-shaped Mickeys, and you can still pee. There's no problem.
Well, you know, I have to disagree with the traditional choices on this one. I went with Liqueur de Malt, made by Dogfish Head out in Delaware. This is one that they decided to make a fancy malt liquor. It's brewed with 3 kinds of corn: Aztec red, white, and blue corn. It's bottle conditioned, and instead of having a normal label on it, they package it in a brown paper bag with their logo stamped on. So I think that's got to be the classiest 40-ounce bottle that you can buy out there.
And once Matt gets his thumb out of his nose, then we'll be able to hear who the real winner is.
What do the judges think? What do the judges think?
Well, we all know 40s are nothing but class, so I'm going to go with Liqueur de Malt.
Absolutely.
It's an upset to the classic.
The next category, we're going to go with Best West Coast IPA.
Seems to be a pretty big trend right now, the what we would consider overhopping beers. So we decided to make it a category. Kyle?
Personally, I went with Sierra Nevada. When I think West Coast, that's the first place that comes to mind. And I went with their Torpedo. It's a really nice IPA, and it's going to have more of like an ambery orange color to it, which I think is really cool.
I also went with Sierra Nevada, but I went with the Fresh Harvest series, bringing in at about 72 IBUs. It's a really nice IPA, and I think Sierra Nevada, one of the founders of the West Coast Brewing, a great company to go with.
I went a little further up the coast, up to Rogue, and I think their IPA is just a really solid brew. I don't have much else to say about it. It's just, you know, Rogue is another one that makes some progressive beers and stuff that we can get around here, and they do a pretty solid job, so that's my choice.
By my numbers, it looks like Torpedo gets this one.
All right. Mark one down for Torpedo.
That's whack.
All right. Next category is the foamiest beer.
I got this one. I know this one is going to win. If any of you have ever been out at a college party and someone drags in the keg of Milwaukee's Best, it's warm, it's been overpumped and shaken, it's like 18 pitchers of foam before you even get a drop of beer. Milwaukee's Best in a keg. That's my pony.
See, I can top that, though, because when I was at the Malt House, I ordered a Guten Drache.
Well, to be fair, this was like the second day they were open.
It was.
Throw this out there.
But, I mean, to be fair, he's talking about a very, very specific situation of a keg in a trunk going to a party.
True.
So
you have another specific situation.
Continuing on specific situation trends, it took me approximately 20 minutes to get my beer because it was just so foamy that I could not get Guten Drache from the tap.
But was it worth it?
It was all right.
Okay.
It was a little foamy.
Well, see, now mine does not require a specific situation other than having a bottle of the beer. It's got to be Belgian.
and having the appropriate glass.
I suppose having the appropriate glassware, although I would assume pouring it in the inappropriate glass would probably still result in a foamy beer, but I gotta go with Duvel from Belgium, a beer where the appropriate glassware is about 4 times the size of the actual liquid to accommodate the insane amount of foam in the beer.
A beer that is meant to be foamy.
Yeah.
Let's look to the judges panel on this one.
I'm going to have to go for Duvel on this.
All right.
All right, well, up next, we have the fruitiest beer. Kyle, why don't you start this one off?
Well, about 3 years back, I had a beer. It's called Wild Blue. It was a blueberry beer, and it was the fruitiest beer I've ever had. It was hard to tell if it was juice or not, or beer, and also it was purple. And I could have thought it was just plain old juice mixed with beer, but that's what I'm going with.
Sugar, water, and purple beer.
Purple beer.
I personally chose Goose Island's Juliet, which I believe they'll be premiering sometime this year. They had it at the Great Taste. It's a phenomenal beer. It was a sour ale brewed with blackberries. It was awesome.
Yeah, that one was pretty good, but I don't think it's quite as fruity as the New Glarus Wisconsin Belgian Red with over a pound of cherries in every bottle. It's about as fruity as it gets.
I don't know. See what the judges have to say.
Just based on the name alone, you have to give it to Juliet.
That
There
was
you go.
yours. Shoot.
All right. Next category is for session beer.
All right, I got this one. This one, of all session beers, you've got to think of what do you have in your fridge at all times. And of all session beers, I think back to what my dad has always had, and that's Special Export. It's not the greatest tasting of all beers, but it's cheap. And because it's not the greatest, you're not going to drink like 15 of them. So, as far as the session beer goes and what the requirements are, it's a quick, easy drinking beer that's easy on the wallet.
I've never had that in my fridge.
Yeah, never
Probably
has entered
an
my
advantage
fridge.
to both of you. Yeah.